Sign here. And here. The lawyer didn't even look at me when he said it. Like I wasn't a person, just paperwork. Just another gold digger wife cashing out. The conference room smelled like leather and expensive coffee, floor-to-ceiling windows, city skyline glowing behind Daniel like some kind of halo. Funny how villains always look angelic in good lighting. My name was already printed at the bottom of the divorce papers. All I had to do was finish it. My hand trembled around the pen. Not because I was sad, not because I was scared, because I was counting. 29, 30, 31. Days. That's how long it had been since that night. The lawyer slid a briefcase across the table. It opened with a soft metallic click. Stacks of cash. Neat. Organized. Cold. $250,000, he said calmly. As agreed, you waive any future claims to Daniel's assets, businesses, or inheritance. Like he was reading a grocery receipt, not the price of 10 years of my life. Across the table, Daniel finally looked at me. Soft eyes, sympathetic smile. The same expression he used at charity events, at funerals, at board meetings. The face of a perfect man. The face everyone trusted. Emily, he said gently, like he still cared. This is what's best for both of us. If anyone walked in right now, they'd think he was the victim. Poor Daniel, the successful, handsome, patient husband betrayed by a greedy wife. Because that's the story everyone believed. I was the woman who chose money over marriage, the one who couldn't handle commitment, the one who failed as a wife. My sister cried when I told her we were divorcing. Not for me, for him. He's such a good man, Em. What happened to you? What happened to me? I almost laughed. If they only knew, if any of them knew what really happened inside that house, they wouldn't be looking at me like the villain. But that was Daniel's talent. He didn't yell, he didn't hit, he didn't cheat. Nothing messy, nothing obvious. He just erased me. Quietly, slowly, like I'd never existed. My job? Quit. My wife doesn't need to work. My bank account? Joint account is easier. My friends? They're a bad influence. My clothes? That doesn't look elegant enough for my family. Every decision filtered through him. Every opinion corrected. Every dream postponed. Until one day I looked in the mirror and couldn't recognize the girl staring back. Just someone decorative, temporary, replaceable. But none of that showed on paper. All the court saw was this. Wife takes money, wife leaves. End of story. The lawyer tapped the contract. Mrs. Carter, we don't have all day. Mrs. Not for much longer. Daniel leaned back in his chair, calm and confident. Too confident. Like this was just another business deal. Like I was just another asset he was liquidating. For a second, I studied him. Perfect suit, perfect hair, perfect posture. God, he was good at pretending. If I hadn't overheard that conversation, if I hadn't stood frozen in the hallway that night, if I hadn't heard his father say those exact words, I might still believe he loved me. My grip tightened on the pen. I forced my face blank. No anger, no tears, nothing. Because today wasn't about emotions. Today was strategy. I signed. Emily Carter. The ink bled into the paper like a wound. The lawyer immediately gathered the documents, satisfied. Pleasure doing business with you. Business. That word again. Daniel stood up and adjusted his jacket. I hope you find what you're looking for, he said softly, like he pitied me, like I was walking away with scraps, like I was the loser here. I almost smiled. Almost. Because if he knew what I knew, if he had even the slightest idea, He wouldn't be standing that close to me so comfortably. He'd be terrified. I picked up the briefcase. It was heavier than I expected. Money always is. Funny thing is, I didn't care about a single dollar inside it. Not really. This wasn't payment. It was bait, insurance, time. I walked to the door. My heels echoed against the marble floor, each step louder than the last. No one stopped me. No one called my name. 10 years of marriage ending with the sound of a door clicking shut. That's it. No drama, no tears, just silence. The elevator doors closed. My reflection stared back at me. Calm. Too calm. Like a stranger. As soon as I hit the lobby, I pulled out my phone, opened the timer app, and reset it. 30 days. The countdown started ticking. Because 30 days from now, everything changes. 30 days from now, Daniel Carter's perfect life collapses. And he still thinks I left him for cash. He still thinks I'm weak, still thinks I'm stupid, still thinks he replaced me. I stepped out into the sunlight, the city buzzing around me. Free. Divorced. Paid off. That's what everyone would say. That's what they'd whisper tonight at dinner tables. Poor Daniel. She took the money and ran. I let them think that. Let them judge. Let them laugh. Because none of them know what I'm waiting for. None of them know what's already been set in motion. And none of them know that something is growing inside me. Something Daniel would burn the world to control. I rested my hand lightly on my stomach. Just for a second. Then I walked away. Timer ticking. Heart steady. Counting down. Because in exactly 30 days, I'm not coming back for money. I'm coming back for everything. And Daniel has no idea I already took something from him that he can never buy back. People love saying, divorces don't just happen overnight. They're right. Mine didn't explode. It rotted. Slow. Quiet. Smiling the whole time. If you looked at our life from the outside, you'd think I was insane for leaving. Big house, luxury car, weekend parties, matching Christmas photos. Daniel and Emily Carter, the perfect couple. We were the kind of marriage people used as an example. My aunt once told me, if you ever mess this up, it'll be the biggest mistake of your life. I remember smiling when she said that, because even then, something already felt wrong. It started small. So small I almost felt silly complaining. Daniel liked control. That's what he called it, control. Structure, he'd say. Organization. Efficiency. At first, it sounded responsible. Adult. Attractive, even. He paid the bills, managed investments, handled taxes. I'll take care of everything, he told me. You don't need to stress. It felt safe. Until it wasn't. Because I'll handle everything slowly became, don't worry about your bank account. Quit your job. My wife doesn't need to work. Why do you need your own savings? Why are you meeting friends without telling me first? Little by little, my world got smaller. Not locked, just reduced. Like someone slowly turning down the brightness on your life. I stopped working because he insisted. Stopped visiting my mom as often because gas was a waste. Stopped wearing certain dresses because my family prefers classy women. Stopped arguing because every discussion ended the same way. You're overreacting, Emily. Eventually, you start believing it. Maybe I was dramatic. Maybe I was ungrateful. Maybe I didn't deserve someone like him. That's the thing about emotional cages. There are no bars, so you don't realize you're trapped. Then came the pressure. Children. Daniel's family was obsessed with legacy. Old money, old name, old pride. Every dinner with them felt like an interview. His mother would smile sweetly and say, "So, any good news yet?" His father wasn't subtle at all. Our bloodline matters, he said once, cutting his steak. A family like ours needs heirs. Heirs. Not children. Heirs. Like we were breeding horses. Daniel started tracking everything. Doctor's visits, ovulation apps, supplements, schedules. Sex stopped feeling like love. It felt like a task, like homework, like I was failing some invisible exam every month. And every time the test came back negative, I saw the disappointment in his eyes. Not sadness, disappointment. Like I'd let him down, like my body was defective. The comments got sharper. Maybe you should try harder. Maybe stress is the problem. Maybe it's you. Never him. Always me. Then came the night everything changed. The night that broke something inside me for good. We'd hosted one of his family dinners. Big table, expensive wine, fake laughter. I remember smiling so much my cheeks hurt. After everyone left, I went upstairs to grab my phone. But halfway down the hallway, I heard voices from Daniel's office. His door was slightly open. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I swear I wasn't. But then I heard my name. Emily is becoming a liability. I froze. It was his father speaking. Cold, flat, businesslike. Daniel didn't interrupt, didn't defend me. Nothing. She hasn't produced anything in 2 years, his father continued. We can't waste more time. Produced. Like I was a factory. My heart started pounding so loud I thought they'd hear it. Then Daniel said something I'll never forget. Calm. Casual. Like we were discussing furniture. We'll finalize the divorce quietly. Give her a settlement. Make it look mutual. Silence. Then, I already met someone else. She understands what's expected. My ears rang. I couldn't breathe. She's healthier, better genetics, good family, more suitable. Suitable. For a second, I honestly thought I might faint. 10 years. 10 years together, and they were replacing me like an old appliance. Planning it. Scheduling it. Like I was temporary from the beginning. Like I never was his wife. Just a placeholder. I walked back to the bedroom on autopilot. Didn't cry, didn't scream, just numb. Then something else hit me. Something small. Something strange. The nausea. The dizziness. The missed period. I slowly opened my drawer. Pulled out the pharmacy bag I'd hidden earlier that day. My hands were shaking harder than they had in that hallway. I went into the bathroom, locked the door, took the test. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. When I finally looked down, there was a faint second line. So light it almost didn't exist, but it was there. Positive. I stared at it forever. My first thought wasn't happiness. It wasn't relief. It was one cold, sharp realization. They were already planning to throw me away, and they had no idea what was already growing inside me. So I did something crazy, something no good wife would do. I didn't tell Daniel. I hid the test. And the next morning, I told him I agreed to the divorce. Because if they wanted me gone so badly, I was going to leave on my terms and take their future with me. You'd think divorce would be the worst part. It wasn't. The worst part was how fast he erased me. Like I'd never existed. Like 10 years of marriage was just a typo he finally corrected. 3 days after I moved out, Daniel changed the locks. Not even subtle. Not even polite. I still had a few boxes there. Winter clothes, old photo albums, my grandmother's jewelry. His assistant texted me, "Your belongings will be shipped. Please don't come by the house anymore." Please don't come by the house. My house. The kitchen I painted, the garden I planted, the bedroom I cried in, reduced to a shipping address. I stared at that message for a long time, waiting to feel something. Anger, sadness, anything. But all I felt was quiet, like my heart had gone numb to protect itself. Then the rumors started. Of course they did, because Daniel didn't just want me gone, he wanted me guilty. At first it was small whispers. Friends stopped replying, my sister called less. Then one afternoon I ran into an old neighbor at the grocery store. She gave me that look. You know the one. Half pity, half judgment. "I heard you got a lot of money out of him," she said carefully. "Must be nice." Must be nice. Like I'd won the lottery. Like I hadn't just buried my entire life. Apparently, Daniel had told everyone the same story. I demanded cash, I threatened him, I didn't want kids, I fell out of love. The villain narrative. Clean, simple, easy to believe. Because who would ever suspect Daniel Carter? Golden boy, charity donor, perfect son, perfect husband. Meanwhile, I was suddenly that woman, the greedy ex-wife, the one who couldn't keep a man. Even my own aunt called me crying. "Emily, how could you throw everything away? He adored you." Adored. I bit my tongue so hard it almost bled, because explaining the truth would sound insane. He and his father plan to replace me like breeding stock isn't exactly dinner table conversation. So I let them think what they wanted. Let them hate me. It made things easier. Hate keeps people distant. And distance is safe. But Daniel didn't stop there. 2 weeks later, my phone lit up with photos, tagged by mutual friends. A rooftop restaurant, fairy lights, champagne. Daniel, kneeling, a ring. Some blonde woman covering her mouth like she'd just won a game show. Engaged. Already. I actually laughed when I saw it. Not because it was funny, because it was ridiculous. 10 years with me, and he replaced me in 14 days. 14! Like I'd been an expired product. The comments were worse. "Finally found someone right for him. She looks more his type. Upgrade." Upgrade. Like I was a phone model. I closed the app before I smashed my screen. That night, I threw up for the first time. Not from stress, from morning sickness. I sat on the bathroom floor, cold tiles against my skin, one hand on my stomach. Reality hit me all at once. He was out there celebrating a new future, while his actual future was inside me, and he didn't even know. For a second, I almost texted him. Almost. My thumb hovered over his name. Part of me wanted to ruin his little party immediately. "Congratulations. By the way, I'm pregnant." Simple, easy, explosive. But then I stopped. Too easy. Too small. Daniel didn't deserve a private meltdown. He deserved something bigger, something permanent, something he couldn't spin into a PR story. So instead of texting him, I opened my laptop and started digging. If he wanted to treat marriage like business, fine. I'll treat revenge like strategy. I gathered everything. Old emails, financial statements, medical records, messages from his mother pressuring me about fertility treatments. Then I found something interesting. Very interesting. Invoices, private clinic payments, confidential meetings, background checks on women. Multiple women. Dates overlapping our marriage. My stomach dropped. They hadn't just planned my replacement. They'd been interviewing candidates. Like I was already gone. Like my life was just a placeholder contract. I printed everything. every receipt, every file, every disgusting piece of proof. Then I booked an appointment with a lawyer Daniel didn't know existed, not some fancy family friend. A shark. The kind of woman who smiled while tearing corporations apart. When I handed her the folder, she raised an eyebrow. "Emily," she said slowly, "do you realize what you have here?" I nodded. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel small, didn't feel helpless, didn't feel abandoned. I felt dangerous, like prey that finally grew teeth. Then 2 days later, my phone rang. Doctor's office. My blood test results were back. She sounded different, gentler. "Emily," she said, "we need to talk about your pregnancy levels." My heart slammed against my ribs. Not fear. Not exactly. Something else. Something bigger. Because from the tone in her voice, this wasn't just confirmation. This was something that could change everything. And when she said the number, I realized Daniel's clean divorce was about to become his biggest mistake. "Emily, your results are back." My doctor's voice was calm, professional. Too calm. The kind of calm doctors use when they're about to say something life-changing. I stepped outside the cafe I'd been sitting in and pressed the phone tighter to my ear. Cars rushed past, people laughed. Normal life kept moving. Meanwhile, my heart felt like it might punch through my ribs. "Your HCG levels are strong," she continued. "Stronger than we expected." I swallowed. "So I am pregnant." A small pause. Then, "Yes. And based on your numbers, you're further along than you thought, approximately 5 weeks at the time of your last visit." 5 weeks. My brain did the math automatically. 5 weeks ago, I was still married, still living in that house, still sleeping next to Daniel, which meant, legally, the baby was conceived during the marriage, which meant something else, too. Something Daniel and his father clearly hadn't considered. The divorce wasn't clean. It wasn't final. Not really. Because family law had one very interesting clause. If a child is conceived during a marriage, the father is automatically liable. Financially, legally, inheritance, everything. Even after divorce, even if he remarries, even if he pretends I never existed. My knees almost gave out. Not from fear, from the sheer, terrifying weight of what that meant. They wanted an heir so badly, they treated me like a defective machine. And now, their precious heir was already here, inside me, and completely out of their control. "Emily, are you there?" my doctor asked. "Yeah," I whispered. "I'm here." But mentally, I was somewhere else. Somewhere colder, sharper, calculating. Because suddenly, the pieces weren't random anymore. They clicked together like a puzzle. And that's when I understood something. The universe didn't save me. I saved myself. Because here's the truth no one knew. Not Daniel, not his family, not even the audience watching my life fall apart. I already suspected I was pregnant before the divorce papers were signed. That faint line on the test? I saw it. I knew what it probably meant. But I didn't tell him. I didn't cry. I didn't beg him to stay. I didn't say, "We're having a baby." Because if I had, Daniel would have taken control immediately. Doctor appointments monitored. Lawyers involved. His family hovering like vultures. They would have owned my pregnancy the same way they tried to own me. No. I needed freedom first. Distance. Leverage. So I did the opposite of what any emotional wife would do. I helped him divorce me faster. I signed quickly, accepted the cash without arguing, played the greedy villain perfectly, because the faster he cut me loose, the safer my child was, and the dumber he'd look later. It wasn't weakness. It was strategy. I didn't take the money because I lost. I took it because it funded my escape and my war chest. Back in my apartment, I spread everything across the table: pregnancy confirmation, conception estimates, marriage dates, divorce timeline. My lawyer leaned back in her chair and let out a low whistle. "Well," she said, "this just turned nuclear." She explained it slowly, like she didn't want me to miss a single word. If they knew you were pregnant, they never would have rushed the divorce. They basically walked into a legal trap. Trap. I liked that word. They tried to replace you for an heir, and now their actual biological heir exists with the one they just paid to disappear. I stared at the papers. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady. Scary steady. "So what happens now?" I asked. She smiled. Not kindly, not warmly, predatory. "Now," she said, "now you decide how public you want to make this." Public. My mind immediately pictured Daniel's world, his image, his investors, his parents' reputation. Their whole brand was legacy family values. What happens when people find out they divorced the mother of their own bloodline for convenience? What happens when recordings surface of them calling me temporary? What happens when the new fiancée finds out she's second place to a baby that already exists? They wouldn't just lose face. They'd lose everything. And then it hit me. I didn't want a quiet lawsuit. I didn't want a private settlement. No. That would let them hide, recover, rewrite the story. If I was going to do this, it had to hurt. Publicly. Permanently. And that's when I remembered something. Daniel's engagement party. 3 days away. Huge guest list. Family friends, business partners, investors, everyone who mattered. All in one room. All watching him celebrate his new beginning. My lawyer followed my gaze. "You're thinking about the party, aren't you?" I nodded slowly. She didn't even try to stop me. Instead, she slid the folder back across the table. "Then let's make sure when you walk in, you're holding a bomb." That night, I stood in front of my mirror, hand resting lightly on my stomach. Not scared anymore, not heartbroken, just ready. Daniel thought he'd divorced a weak, emotional woman. He thought he'd paid me off, thought I'd disappeared. But what he really did, he gave me freedom, money, and the perfect stage. And in 3 days, in front of everyone he cared about, I was going to remind him of one small, devastating truth. He didn't replace me. He made the biggest mistake of his life, because Daniel's engagement party wasn't going to be a celebration. It was going to be my reveal. And no one in that room was ready for what I was about to say. The engagement party looked like a wedding. Crystal chandeliers, live violinist, champagne towers. Daniel never did anything small. Gold and white decorations everywhere. His mother's favorite colors. Legacy colors. I almost laughed at the irony. They were celebrating a future that already belonged to me. When I walked in, conversations dipped. Heads turned. Whispers spread like smoke. "She actually came? The ex-wife? After taking his money?" Daniel spotted me near the entrance. For a second, his smile faltered. Then he recovered, charming as always. "Emily," he said smoothly, like we were old friends. "Didn't expect to see you here." "I wouldn't miss this," I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised even me. His fiancée clung to his arm, studying me like I was some stray animal that wandered in. I asked for the mic. People assumed I was going to congratulate them, maybe apologize, maybe embarrass myself. Instead, I pulled a white envelope from my purse. Medical reports, legal documents, dates highlighted in red. I just wanted to return something Daniel forgot. His heir. The room stilled. You could literally hear glasses stop clinking. I'm 5 weeks pregnant, which means this child was conceived during our marriage. Legally, still his responsibility, still his bloodline. His mother went pale. His father stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. Then I played the recording. His voice, cold, clear. Temporary wife, will replace her. Gasps, phones out, people staring, investors whispering. His fiancée slowly stepping away from him like he was contagious. Daniel grabbed my arm, eyes wild. "You planned this," he hissed. I smiled. Yes. And I walked out while his perfect world burned behind me. Weeks later, the settlement tripled. Full custody, trust fund, house. Silence from his family. No more rumors, no more calls. Everyone said I won. But one night, alone in my new place, I opened my drawer. Inside was the first test, the one with the faint line. Next to it, hospital paperwork. 2 words circled softly. Chemical pregnancy. I lost it days after the party. There was never going to be a baby. But legally, they never demanded another test. They were too scared, too busy protecting their reputation. So I let them believe. Because sometimes you don't destroy a dynasty with truth. You destroy it with fear. They tried to use me as a vessel, so I used their legacy as a weapon. And somehow, that hurt them more.